Hello, everybody. Thank you, Michael, for having me here. My name is Maurice Matiz, and I'm at Columbia University. I have a couple of colleagues of mine that are here, Jose Diaz and Jessica Brodsky, who work on our team. Just so I get a sense of the people that are here and in the back, how many of you are actually producing MOOCs or working on MOOCs on various platforms? Okay, just a small number. How many of you work in education and educational systems? Okay. So what I wanted to do, and I checked in with Michael about what to go over. What I thought my version of the talk will be more a little bit of a case study of what a university like Columbia is doing in the MOOC space, and I'm going to try to run through the slides real quick so we can get to some of the questions in a minute. The 4 things that I wanted to cover are listed on this page, and it really is about some of the work that my center has been working on. We've been working in using technology in education for about 16 years. We started doing MOOCs about 3 or 4 years ago, and we now have courses both on edX and on Coursera. On Columbia X, we have 7 courses, and we have 5 right now in production. But we also have 11 courses in the Coursera platform, and 5 of those have now been turned into on-demand courses. So we're one of the universities that can really talk to you about the differences between Coursera and edX. Obviously, MOOCs have been raising a lot of questions at the university. These are some of them. And it really has created an opportunity for universities to think about their teaching, not just in some of the MOOC spaces, which are more experimental, but really in-house. How much of our courses should be flipped? And Paul, I think earlier, said that almost every course now is blended, and that I think will be the case. I actually heard Andre do a talk a couple years ago at the Global Partners Forum where he said exactly that from McKinsey. These issues have been really important because they've gotten a lot of faculty participation, and those of you know about universities, it's the faculty that count, and they really have started discussing these points. Again, as change agents, I like to bring this up when I talk about MOOCs because this is from 2012. Already somebody had put together, and it's the sources there, that MOOCs are creating somewhat of a competition for universities, and that in 2012 you could already put together a complete computer science program on your own. The basics, the core, any electives, and even the tech and society that most programs have, and by picking MOOCs from a number of different universities. And why is Columbia involved in this area? Some of these points are here. Obviously, some of them are much more important to the university, but I think the point is that at Columbia, part of its mission is to share knowledge with the world, and I think this is one of the opportunities that we get faculty to share their teaching and their knowledge that is not in the research side, and I think that's very important for us to make that point. We have a number of, obviously, when you start doing MOOCs, it brings up a number of issues that are very difficult, things like copyright and credentialing and all of those. And these are the kinds of conversations that we're having on campus related to faculty participation for these programs, how they're going to be compensated, et cetera. And again, we can talk about these during the Q&A. This is, somebody alluded to this before, but this is maybe in a graphical view of that. We're really hoping that we're moving more into a ripe situation to really take advantage of best practices as opposed to the kind of hype that we had a couple years ago. And again, I think we're seeing that at our university. What are some of the lessons we've learned? We've learned that when we get a bunch of people on at the university who are experts in instructional design, in video, that we really get courses that are very, very well done. And then we turn those back into the courses that our on-campus students use. And the faculty investment for these courses is very high, and we always try to make sure that they understand that, but it does come out with a course that we are really happy to produce and then reuse at the university. This is some of the other lessons. This is maybe an old lesson now, but I think it's worth repeating that we continue to work with our faculty to create videos that are fairly short. This is taken from some work that edX did about the amount of video, the viewing of videos and how people drop off very quickly. And we actually get great comments. It's hard to see, no, you can see it, but this is actually a response that we got from one of our MOOCs that we ran, I think it was just a semester ago, where a course participant actually wrote this in their response to the MOOC, and I think it just helps confirm that point. We've also been able to use the courses that we put out online as really a global test drive, and what we mean by that is we were able to almost beta test some of our material that we're using in the residential courses in the MOOC space. This is an example. We had a course on virology, which became even more popular as Ebola crisis kicked off and everything. But the slides used to look like the one on the top there, and students started writing about, wouldn't it be great if, as you're narrating some of these slides, it gets hard for us to know exactly which part of the cell you're referring to. So what did we do? We went back and took the video and redid it so that we added call-outs on all the videos as he is talking about certain elements. Then we have these videos and reuse them in our own classes. And again, it was very valuable to the students at Columbia as well. That's just one example of many that we've had like that. We're using a lot of the videos to flip classrooms at the university. I won't go too much into that because it's not so much related to edX and Open edX. We joined edX a couple years ago, and our brand there is Columbia X. And again, to recall the earlier slide, to share knowledge freely, which means that we also release all of our MOOC content as Creative Commons. And so that not only do we put it on edX, but we put every video on YouTube with a Creative Commons license. And that way, anybody who wants to make use of it can just do it from YouTube. We're also thinking about how we might make use of the other material that's inside edX that make up the rest of the course and make that available. These are some of the courses that we have released, and maybe focusing on one specific course. Eric Foner, who's one of the stars at the university, he's a historian. He happens to be retiring, and we captured his last final Civil War and Reconstruction course with a full student, 200 plus students. And we created a MOOC for him that featured a whole bunch of different elements, including hangouts with him. He is a Pulitzer Prize winning writer. So again, we're able to bank on that star power. And one of the things, just again to give you a sense of the production that we're working on, is we added a primary source investigation using our two librarians here who did a hangout, which was really more about the freedom of not being part of the course thread, but really doing something that students would do on their own. And as you see there, just for the enjoyment of exploring ideas. And those things worked out really well. We explored primary sources. We gave them some ideas of what they had to do. And I'm going to show you a quick example of that. We brought in from our rare books and manuscript library, which again is a place of fabulous resources, a bill of sale from a slave, which I'll make a little bit bigger. And when students see something like this, and at the bottom it says, certain negress, slave for life, named Sarah Jane, age about 17 years, fully guaranteed against the vices and maladies and defects, etc., in the land of Louisiana. They're able to really interrogate this and really see something that shows them what the world must have been like, and seeing people as property, guaranteeing property rights over people. And what that does is it leads to great student conversations. And some of you in the back may not be able to see this, but talking about how entrenched slavery must have been, and again, it leads to that kind of conversation that was mentioned earlier. These are other comments from students, and we got so much of this that it was just one of the highlights of the course. We also had Eric Foner himself got into the conversations and added some of his points about slavery, and that was great for the students taking the class. These are some other comments we got. One of the things we found is how many high schoolers take these courses, especially homeschool students. This came from, it might have been two different mothers. One who talked about how engaged their high schoolers was. I think the second part of that said something like that the students now, when they go to the dining room table, they talk like Eric Foner. We thought that was great. We also, I'm not going to play the video, but one of the things we did was we used the cohort features of edX to create separate cohorts for our alums and for folks who are teachers. And we were able to have some very exclusive content for those groups in a separate area. And we're hoping to really take advantage of those features even more as edX has expanded some of the ability to do cohorts and teams. This is the trailer from the course. I won't play that now for the sake of time, but I'll leave with a survey that we ran at the end of the course, and this is the kind of results that we're getting, where we ask people about their knowledge of the Civil War, for example, and it's fabulous for us to see those results, where the number of people who now feel that they have a very strong knowledge of the Civil War goes to those levels. Number 3 was about Reconstruction, which is even less well known. The numbers we saw there were even more fabulous. So we've been very fortunate to been able to share some of this knowledge with the world through edX. We are working on, a lot of these were experiments. We are working on streamlining a lot of our production so we can actually get these out on a much faster scale. We're now working on 5 MOOCs at the same time with a very small staff. And so this may be anybody who's interested in the production side of it. We have a lot of things like internal wikis that help centralize our documentation. We have complete production budgets that allow us to anticipate how much work we have to do, and et cetera, project management tools. And I have some screenshots that show some of that, a production wiki, and you see Jose and Jessica's names there. But again, it makes it easier when you have a team of between 4 and 10 people involved to be able to really work through these very quickly. We have both a budgeting system, and it's not budgeting in the sense that we're having to pay anybody. It's just a budget of our resources. And we break it down into human resources, production, course design, service and equipment, everything from things that we may have to rent. And a project management tool allows us to keep track. Many of you are probably familiar with things like Jira and so forth. We run our own internal, but we also have milestones that help us do the projects fairly quickly. And this is an example of it becomes a call sheet, but it's really an example of when we're doing a shoot, the amount of detail that we have to go into to get all the stuff done. Again, I'd be happy to talk to anybody about some of this work. That's it for me. The MOOC is at bit.ly matiz-moocs.cu if anybody wants to look at any of the links on the presentation. Thank you.